You're listening to the Animation Portfolio Workshop podcast series. In this segment, Gerard Sternik speaks with Jim Zubkavich, the program coordinator for Seneca's Animation Arts Center at York University in Toronto. Part 1.
Okay, well, Jim, let's start at the beginning. Could you talk a little bit, first of all, about your background, your connection to animation, to us, because I guess there's one there, and and how you wound up being the director of the animation program at Seneca College.
That's a pretty long story. I'm not going to go into too much depth. I'll sort of do a quick skim over of the whole thing. Obviously, I think it's pretty universal across the board. Anyone who gets involved with this industry, they have a love of animation, they have a love of art, and all kind of related fields. And so it would be horrifyingly cliche for me to say that I've loved this stuff all my life, but I think it's a truism of everyone who does this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so once I decided I wanted to go to school for animation, for art as a whole, I did a lot of research in terms of schools and what, different institutions were offering courses. I ended up taking classical animation at Sheridan College out in Oakville.
Right.
And from there, previous to that, actually, it's funny because you guys do the portfolio workshop, and I did not get in my first time that I applied.
Oh, really?
It's true. So I took a year of film and multimedia at Humber.
Oh, wow.
And got a bit of a grounding in terms of film theory.
And did that help your portfolio much? Or
it's weird because I actually I was pretty dejected after I didn't get in that first time. So I took the film course because I had done quite a bit of video work in high school. Our school had, considering the size of our school, we had a pretty good video program, and so I'd done some video editing and kind of messing around with those sorts of things.
What high school was that, Jim?
Donovan Collegiate in Oshawa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so they had an actual editing suite, and I
Wow.
kind of went crazy on it because I thought it was really amazing stuff. So I got involved with film for a year there, but I still had the burning desire to do animation. It was something that I really wanted to do, but I put it off, and then when I reapplied again and I didn't get in for a second time, I felt like, okay, this isn't going to work. I don't know what I'm going to do. Spoke to my parents about it, and they basically said, focus on film, that's what you love. And I said, well, I love film, but I love animation, like that aspect of film.
Yep.
And I want to do that even more so. And so I said, look, I'm gonna apply a third time, and if I don't get in, like third strike, I'm out. I'll stop.
Wow.
But if I was going to do it, I figured I would go the whole hog. So I took art fundamentals at Sheridan,
yep.
And I moved out to Oakville, moved into the residence they had there, and made some lifelong friends and had a fantastic year and learned a lot about art, learned a lot about my own, kind of work ethic and things I needed to do. And then I did get into the program.
And Jim, what year is that? Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, geez. 95, 96?
95, yeah, 96.
Yeah.
Now, I don't recall you. You were not in my first year. Oh, I know why, because I was in Italy in 95.
Ah, okay.
And I was over there studying, and so I left the department and came back and started working there. So I started.
Right, so I was right in between
yeah,
there.
I missed you. That's right. Because I can't remember your face. I remember seeing you in the halls.
Right.
At Sheridan, and you had purple hair, right?
I had bright orange hair in my second year.
It was like a match.
It glowed in the dark, yeah.
Yeah, it was, and it was sticking up.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it was all spiked up.
It kind of like mine without the color.
And now I'm very, very
sedate.
Very normal, yeah.
Yeah, well, you have to be, Jimmy.
But it was good. But I did have Vince Peets, though.
All right.
Yeah. So that was where I met. That's where I met Vince.
And what was he like?
He was great. I mean, it was funny though, because he was. I mean, even now, he's still very youthful looking. But at the time, I just assumed he was a student until he got introduced as our teacher, and then I was kind of embarrassed. So it was great.
Funny. So you bumped up into him in the urinal or something and said, "Yeah."
I think on his first week.
What about that Brian LeMay, huh?
Oh,
and then you found out he was your instructor, right?
I swear, on the first class, he was wearing like overalls or something that made him look even more youthful. It was crazy.
All right. So you clearly went through the program and enjoyed that.
Right. So learned a ton in terms of, everything, the hardcore drawing. I mean, Sheridan has an intense program, and I learned a lot there. the school has a reputation, and it was grueling at times. I think everyone kind of knows the reputation they're in.
Yeah, you got your stripes on that one.
Yeah.
And now for life drawing, just quickly, you must have had Werner and Jerry then as well.
I did,
Jerry
that's
Zeldin,
correct.
right? Werner Zimmerman and Jerry Zeldin.
Yep.
Which is an amazing combination of teachers to have in a row.
Absolutely, they were amazing. I learned a ton. I thought I knew how to draw, and I was sorely mistaken.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get a hold of Werner to do one of these with him, so I'll have to make sure that we talk about your drawing in his class.
Oh, absolutely.
Jim, we can do some edits if you pay us.
Actually, I have a really funny story about Werner I can tell you, and I don't mind telling it on tape, if you will.
Help yourself.
So I start working at Seneca. We're going to cut ahead a little bit, but we'll go back in time a little bit later. So I start working at Seneca. It's like my first week there, and I run into Werner, and he says, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I said, I've got a job. I'm teaching in the department now. And he's like, "Really? Oh, that's amazing." And so we're laughing and having a good conversation. And just out of nowhere, he just stops and he goes, well, I got to see your life drawing. I got to see your stuff. He just gives me this look, that look of like, I'm still your teacher. And I just got that horrible chill down my spine, like, oh no, what if it's not good enough? And it took me way back. And I just looked at him. I said, no, you can't see it. You can't hurt me anymore. And he just started laughing and laughing and laughing.
Now, were you working as his colleague then, or as his boss?
I was just a colleague at that point. I was just another instructor.
So you guys were on an even playing field.
Yeah. It was really funny though.
And Jim, you are okay. Like we're kind of segueing in the right direction because I was going to talk about the comic book thing a bit, but
sure.
But first, okay. So you went into Sheridan. You went into Seneca as an instructor,
right,
teaching character design, animation.
Well, that was the thing is that I came back to it. After I left school, I went out to Calgary for a couple years.
Yeah.
I was with a friend of mine who was trying to start up his own studio, and we were young and full of, vinegar and ready to go, and we thought we were going to take on the world, and we kind of smashed our faces, but we learned a lot, Yeah. And it was a difficult time, but you're at that age where you can do that, where you can make mistakes and you can sort of dream crazy big and just sort of see what happens. And it was an experience worth having, I guess, on that level. And from there, I ended up teaching part-time at a small, sort of like a private, it wasn't just art, it was like an art and business school, but they had, it was a private school out in Calgary.
Yep.
They're not around anymore. I think they were called the Applied Multimedia Training Center, which is very technical sounding. But I taught in their animation department for almost 2 years, actually.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a really crazy experience because when I started teaching, I was really quite young, but in some ways it was a bit of an advantage because everything was really fresh in my mind in terms of what had worked and what hadn't worked when I was a student, or what I felt was really, the theories that had really stuck with me.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
I felt really, it was a strange experience because I wasn't that much older than the students, but on another level, it was easy for me to empathize and sort of see where they were going wrong with stuff as well. So. I don't want to flatter myself, but I did feel that way a little bit myself when I was teaching at Sheridan. I was older than a lot of my students, but not by that much. Well, I think it's not that hard to sort of imagine yourself back and realize, that you remember what those experiences were like, or what those people are feeling, when they're just getting started and they're getting their feet wet with this stuff, and they feel like, oh man, they've got all this, train track ahead of them.
Thank you for listening. To see successful examples of animation portfolios drawn by our students, visit animationportfolioworkshop.com.